All right, everyone. I think we are back in action by the looks of it, streaming to YouTube and Facebook. Hello, everyone. Anthony here again with Puget Sound Stormwatch. Today is December 6th, 2025, starting at the 5 p.m. usual stream time today. To give my voice box quite a bit of time to recuperate, and not expecting a super long stream today. At most, we'll probably go 2 to 3 hours, depending on the audience that we have. Right, Christina C9686 says hello from Paulsbo. Hello there from Milton, down here in Pierce County. So, starting out with things, take a really wide look across the Pacific here. So, here's what's left of the atmospheric river system that's been affecting us for the last couple of days. Not too much moisture with it today up here in western Washington and parts of western Oregon, so we got quite a bit of a break from the rain by the looks of it. Alright, see some of my Facebook audience joining in. Ashley, William, good evening, everyone. So this is going to be superseded by this. That's coming in very shortly. So the upper level trough up here near the Aleutian Islands is going to drag this next plume of moisture into the Pacific Northwest. And you see it extends all the way out here from the Philippines. So this is going to cross pretty much the entire Pacific here. And it's going to drag this plume of moisture into the Pacific Northwest. And the result is going to be a pretty strong atmospheric river event next week, lasting at the very least from Monday through Thursday, with the very beginning of it reaching us tomorrow, but it's not going to be super intense. Williams has been monitoring king tide conditions. Yeah, some of you guys may have been on the Washington Weather Chasers YouTube stream today. They actually got permission from the city of Westport to broadcast their little Westport observation tower camera, and I was given moderation capabilities by Ben in the team, so I was on there for quite a few hours helping Ben out keep up with that stream. So yeah, my first time ever being a YouTube moderator for anyone, so I thought it was a pretty enjoyable experience, and I can't wait for the storm chases in the future. All right, Sonia, welcome back. Thank you for coming in again. We have winds and lake taps. Alex in Wonderland. Well, I guess let's jump right into the forecast, shall we? While we have pretty much everyone here, have about 30 people already on Facebook. Wow, Alrighty, so this is the new NAM 3 Cam 18Z, the 10 a.m. run. Still a couple hours out from the 4 p.m. run, but we can at least go through the progression today. So, showing breezy conditions through this afternoon, continuing, but then starting to die off across the area as we go into the midnight hours. And you notice winds are going to start picking up again tomorrow morning, and actually, there's been a pretty significant uptrend with the models just for tomorrow morning across the area. This is at 10 a.m. This is game time tomorrow, and it has 40-mile-per-hour wind gusts already for Tacoma. Again, out of the southwest direction, so we could see some similar winds to what we saw last night and early this morning, which is a little bit concerning because we had quite a bit more tree damage and power outages than a lot of people were expecting. William says, best thing about being a moderator is getting rid of the jerks that make nonsense comments or disrespectful comments. They're not productive to the channel. Yeah, very well said. I'm happy I didn't have to mute anyone or delete any comments during Ben's stream. Alright, so yeah, Lake Tapps area, you're up here in the corner a little bit, right down here. And yeah, it has you guys pretty breezy tomorrow morning, so just a little heads up. But luckily, the breezy window isn't super long, at least the strongest of the breeze coming through. Even then, this is considered blustery. Up here in Seattle, where it says 28 miles per hour, that's like right on the cusp of breezy, getting up towards blustery. I'd say anything more than 35 miles per hour is realistically considered blustery. But see, then it has Tacoma cooling off by the time we go into the afternoon. So it should be a pretty short-lived event, hopefully. And it continues to be breezy throughout the nighttime tomorrow, and then Monday's system begins to come in, and we're just getting into range across this area. And you notice the sharp wind increase here along the coast, up over 41 miles per hour for Hoquiam by 6 a.m. on Monday. This is when the leading edge of that precipitation begins to move into the Puget Sound. And by the time daybreak comes on Monday, I'm expecting it to be quite wet around the area. Jasmine also questions Enumclaw. So yeah, Enumclaw also looks pretty breezy throughout the day. Not looking too blustery right now here for tomorrow. But we're looking ahead to Monday. And Monday, you're going to notice a huge flip of the script here if Pivotal decides it wants to load. Look at these really strong winds off the coast here, affecting Long Beach and Hoquiam. This is at noon on Monday. And you'll notice the winds begin to make their way inland, but not as strong as they are off the coast. But some areas could be rivaling the wind gusts that we saw last night and early this morning here around the south and the central sound. And you notice again, not as strong of a westerly surge signature with this Monday system. It may be oriented a little bit more to the northeast than it is the east. So it could get some southwesterly winds here affecting areas like Friday Harbor, Roach Harbor, Orcas Island, Shaw Island, Lopez Island, etc. So Whidbey Island may get a little bit of a break from this round on Monday. But you do notice it pretty much has the entire area getting over 40 mile per hour wind gusts for a few hours Monday afternoon. So we'll be watching this extremely closely. See, for Enumclaw, this would have 44 mile per hour wind gusts. And looking at the observations, let's go look at wind gusts since midnight today. And you notice, of course, 100 miles per hour over Chinook Pass. That's just beyond ridiculous. I believe it, but it's beyond ridiculous. It got to that, scale up there. The 44 miles per hour at Sanderson Field, where we got a max 54 mile per hour gust yesterday. 40 miles per hour at Tacoma Narrows here. We hit 40 again by Browns Point. 41 Normandy Park. We hit 45 miles per hour after midnight here at SeaTac, which again was on the higher side of things. That ended up verifying, oddly enough. Then you notice down here in Enumclaw, also quite blustery. Down here at the Suntop Weather Station, southeast Enumclaw, we got up to 46 miles per hour after midnight there. So could be a little bit enhanced because of the terrain. And I talked with the owner of the station, and he runs a Raspberry Pi algorithm that converts measurements based on the altitude above his fence line, I guess, because I think his weather station is below the roof line in a pretty suburban neighborhood. But last time I checked, the owner of that station made some improvements since the last photo that I saw of the weather station. So his algorithm could be a little bit different there. Also, 47 miles per hour here, just outside of Snoqualmie, too. I think we had some of these southwest winds come through the Tiger Summit Gap and then wrap around Rattlesnake Mountain. Usually, Rattlesnake Mountain blocks these southwesterly winds pretty well here for Snoqualmie. So even the station down the street here in North Bend recorded 40 miles per hour. 40 as well at the Ship Canal Bridge. You notice we... before midnight, so it doesn't show on here, but we ended up cracking 60 here at Smith Island. And Whidbey Island Naval Air Station only hit 48 miles per hour before midnight. Since then, no more significant gusts by the looks of it. Even got close to 60 here in Squim, and 50 at the end of the Dungeness Spit as well. 32 watching the live on Facebook right now, bouncing a bit. Yeah, pretty good audience initially. Usually Facebook has the largest audience at first, and then it begins to shift towards YouTube. But even YouTube usually only holds about 10 viewers at one time. See, it's taken a little while for YouTube to get going, but that's okay. At one point we had 11 watching. Already 7 likes on YouTube and 14 likes on Facebook. Thank you guys. And if you guys like the stream, you know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe, ring that bell, and share. So yeah, anyways, back to wins. But first, let's read some of these comments too. I see a few comments coming in. Keith Capolero, one of my regulars up in Bellingham. Good evening to you, sir. Welcome back. Cheryl Marie 9571 says, good evening. Thank you for covering the weather. Shout out to William Gatlin for his donation of 200 stars on Facebook. Thank you very much. There is Julie Mama Miyamoto saying, hello, it's raining again. Yeah, she was on Ben's stream as well, so good to see people outside of the streams as well. Ashley Getz says, I think the Roy area got pretty lucky last night. Stayed pretty calm other than a couple of nasty gusts around 1 a.m. that apparently smashed my fence again. Sounds like you couldn't catch a break, could you? Because around your area, I saw people were reporting over 40-mile-per-hour gusts at night after 1 a.m. Actually, even when I started to wind down here at 1 a.m. last night, I could hear the bursts of wind howling like outside, even with my window closed. And I could, over here, it's looking east. I can see the lights for the self-storage area near my apartment complex here shining into the window. And I could just see the branches just fluttering around quite a bit. And during the bigger gusts, I mean, you could just see the trees swaying pretty good. That even continued into this afternoon, too. If you guys saw on Facebook and YouTube, I posted a YouTube short and a Facebook reel today, and the tree action was just considerable, even this late in the game. It seems like things should really begin to be winding down if they haven't already. So yeah, these are max wind gusts around the area since midnight tonight, not counting the gusts we had last night before midnight. We can go look at that as well. Hang on just a second here. 11:59 p.m. December 5th, 2025. Zoom in a little bit here. And there we go. So, yeah, there's that 54 here at Sanderson Field. Then 51 here at Tacoma Narrows, 46 Browns Point, 49 at SeaTac, 46 Boeing Field, 48 Alki, 50 up at 1,170 feet near Cougar Mountain. And then 48 here at Whidbey Naval Air Station. You select all that. I was hoping it would bring up the Smith Island station. Okay, there we go. Yeah, Smith Island here cracked 60 last night. I believe that was sometime a little after 11 p.m. for that area. Yeah, these are max wind gusts around the area since before midnight this morning. For midnight yesterday through 11:59 p.m. yesterday. And you see, even the Snoqualmie North Bend area got just shy of 50 as well up there in the foothills from southwesterlies. A little unusual because usually you get that with southeasterlies during the larger events. See, even 44 out here in Index, which is usually sheltered from the south-southwest. Usually. But maybe not this time around. So yeah. Currently at this time, still quite breezy around the area. See, we're hitting 43 again here at almost 1,200 feet above sea level. Nope, never mind. That is historical. Let's change that again. Okay, scratch that. Anyways, much less around the area. that was a little unusual. Forgot to change the setting there. But see, breezy in some spots, but winds are definitely calming down, and they'll be a thing of the past until tomorrow. So definitely enjoy the little reprieve we have tonight while we have it. All right, there's Brittany on YouTube. I checked the Skookumchuck River and the forecast has dropped. Yeah, I noticed that as well. Let's pull up the river gauges right now. Believe I just refreshed this, but let's refresh again. Make sure there's no considerable changes here. And yeah, a few rivers dropped off. A couple of them went up, but a few of them dropped off, including the Skookumchuck near Bucoda, like was just mentioned. That's where it's originally about to hit close to major flood stage, but it dropped off a lot just in a few hours, and it now is no longer expected to hit flood stage at all, according to model guidance over the next few days. Of course, again, this is destined to change, so this is far from concrete. Just make sure to stay tuned again to these sites, and I'll be doing live stream documentation as well over the coming days. I think I'm going to take a break from live streaming tomorrow to watch the Seahawks, and since it's football Sunday as well, not expecting a lot of people to be available for a stream anytime, even Sunday night as well, because Sunday night football. So I think we're going to do the stream tonight and then resume on stream coverage Monday around the area. But Monday may be an earlier stream while the rain moves in and around the time the wind starts, which should be later in the morning time, peaking around lunchtime, going into early afternoon as well. Mountain snow total prediction, Tumwater Troy. Well, I can tell you mountain snow this weekend was a huge bust. So much actually that the NWS in Seattle dropped their winter storm warning for Stevens Pass and their winter weather advisory for White Pass well before the expiration time, which was supposed to be 10 p.m. tonight for the winter storm warning and 7 p.m. for the winter weather advisory. They were dropped earlier today. I think they were dropped in the morning time because it just mainly stayed rain. The snow level was 500 to 1,000 feet higher than was expected. So Stevens actually caught a break. You know how accurate the forecasts are for the rivers. Well, this is all just using model data, which is extremely flexible. So that's why the values have been changing a lot. And that's also why the river at the falls here in Snoqualmie too is expected to peak at largely above major flood stage here now, which originally has been bouncing around between minor and moderate, but now has a recent uptrend up to major flood stage at the falls. So I'm expecting a lot of tourism there early next week. This also has it starting Tuesday and not Thursday, unlike the other rivers. But then after that, it quickly drops off and is not expected to hit flood stage again. But I'm expecting this to change pretty dramatically here over the next coming days. Because so again, this is a computer algorithm running this. And so there's, as far as I know, there's very little human intervention. It's computer models comprising the forecast window, which is from the dash line here onward. So let's see here. Yeah, mountain snow total prediction. We can take a look at what the European is showing here for the area. Let's go look at snow depth. So this is going to change based on accumulation and melting. See, it has the snow depth remaining pretty steady around the area from what I can see. Let's pick the Glacier Peak area up there. So see, it holds pretty steady over the next couple of days, but then I think we start to catch up a little bit on North Cascade snowfall. Not too much here for Stevens, Snoqualmie, and White. Let's check the snowfall 10-to-1 and Kuchera ratios as well. These have slightly different computations to make the snowfall forecast up here. You notice we get a little bit at Stevens over the next few days. But then again, remember, this is a lower resolution model. So it's not going to have the terrain exaggeration effect as you see with the higher res models. And we're still pretty far out of range over the next 6 days. We can see what's going on over the next 2.5 days pretty well across the area. But over the next 6 days, it's a pretty huge wild card. But it doesn't show very much for Snoqualmie. It shows more for Stevens, the North Cascades, and White Passes. So I think we'll go back and check out the high-res guidance to see what that has to say. You see how it accommodates to the peaks and the river valleys much more effectively when I switched over to the 3-kilometer imagery here. And if we pull up Snoqualmie Pass here, you see there's a pretty dramatic change there. But Snoqualmie Pass could see anywhere around 7 inches over the next. So this is where not being able to zoom in farther than this really comes to bite, 'Cause it's really hard to pinpoint Snoqualmie Pass because it's the difference between a few pixels where it goes from 0 inches to 7 inches, just like that. But I think Snoqualmie Pass is going to be getting just a few inches over this time. But Stevens getting quite a bit more, but just not up to winter storm warning levels. The NWS could put out a winter weather advisory for some of these areas. I feel like the North Cascades would be the ones to get the winter weather advisory, possibly winter storm warning. But the NWS made a poor call, and they admitted it to putting out a winter storm warning yesterday for Stevens Pass because it just did not verify whatsoever. You see the atmospheric river update. I've been looking at the atmospheric river update. I noticed they downgraded the category 5 for all of the runs here. So it's back down to category 4 for the southern Washington coast here. And then we're looking at the European imagery, which usually is more accurate in this case. The European ensemble average has all of the Washington coast here in the category 4. Let's see, the European control has the north coast at category 3 and the south coast at category 4. A little bit of spread in the forecast, but it looks like they dropped off category 5 for right now. This is probably because of the erratic nature of the moisture plume. Not being as steady as anticipated before. It's going to be bouncing around a bit between Vancouver Island and Oregon. It's still going to hold over Western Washington for a number of hours over Monday and Wednesday. But the track still is bouncing around a little bit. It's fluid, quite literally. Scott Buchanan says, pre-Godzilla clouds moving into Everett, still dry. Yeah, it's not looking as Godzilla, knock on wood, now, as of this morning's and tonight's forecast runs. We'll be keeping our eyes on that too over the coming days because changes are expected, and that's why the river flooding forecast is bouncing around as much as it is. You know, it was even showing here before. It was showing the Puyallup River near Ording getting up to moderate flood stage. This is upstream quite a bit, going towards Electron, but it was showing it actually just touching a little bit shy of major up here. But I'm expecting this to probably either trend down or remain steady over the next couple of days. Because this has the crest occurring Monday night. So could see the crest shift more towards Wednesday or Thursday like most of the area rivers. It really depends on where that moisture axis is really going to stick around at for longer periods of time. Because right now, the atmospheric river pattern looks a little more progressive than it did earlier this week. So the forecast models are trying to make some additional calculations and make up for that. When is this supposed to be over Washington? So we're expecting the inclement conditions to begin early Monday morning. But again, we'll be dealing with the breeze, which could be strong in places too. Sunday, this is tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. It has around 40 miles per hour again for the Tacoma area. These are out of the southwest again. So we could see a similar pattern in some of these areas if this were to verify. But judging on how the models actually kind of underdid some areas last night and early this morning, you know, this is a little more concerning. Luckily, we still won't have super saturated soil because the rain coming up tomorrow is going to be pretty spotty across the area. So we'll be up towards a half an inch by Sunday afternoon down here at Tacoma. And then you notice that doesn't go up very much more at all tomorrow afternoon. So we get a little break around the area, but then starting at around 6 a.m. Monday, just watch those totals increase pretty dramatically. This goes out to 10 p.m. Monday. So you saw that right there from around 6 a.m. Monday to 10 p.m. Monday. Tacoma goes from 0.4 inches up to 1.7 on the high resolution forecast. So over a 16-hour period, if this model is correct, we could see over 1.25 inches for some parts of the South Sound, mainly south of SeaTac, and even higher down here on the I-5 corridor in Thurston County. Which in total, this is a culmination of 60 hours. So from the time of the run, which is 11 a.m. on this one. So it started at 10 a.m., but over the first hour, it goes out to 11 a.m. All the way out to 10 p.m. on Monday. It has well over 2.5 inches for the I-5 corridor between Olympia and Grand Mound, with a little bit of a rain shadow affecting the Chehalis and Newaukum valleys down here. But then picking up again dramatically as you go down into Longview, crossing into Cowlitz County, including Castle Rock, Kelso, and Longview. Yeah. Julie says she's okay without Godzilla showing up. You know, that's fair, especially for the people in the river valleys. That's 100% fair. When is the rain going to slow down? It's going to be a little bit before the rain slows down. I'm just going to say that right now. It's going to be quite a bit before the rain really slows down. See, so the deluge of rain Monday. We may get a little bit of a reprieve on Tuesday, but then Wednesday it's going to start shooting up again. And this goes into Thursday as well. But we may start to see it slow down Friday because the atmospheric river track begins to bounce back to the north towards Vancouver Island. And I'll zoom out and show you guys what I mean when I say that. So we're going to look at precipitable water here. So the blue and purples that you're about to see, this is the most concentrated stream of moisture. So see this little break today as we go into this afternoon. And then that is Sunday morning system coming through. See, not very much of a bite. But then Monday's system comes through. And the original point of emphasis here is going to be here across western Washington, southern Vancouver Island, parts of the extreme North Oregon coast. So this is going to be our initial burst of rain on Monday. And then you notice it begins to sag south towards Oregon. Now all the models have been showing this happening over the last couple of days. So pretty good agreement that this atmospheric river is going to, in theory, back off around western Washington through Tuesday. Then it's going to begin to slide back north again going into Wednesday, with a much more concentrated stream across western Washington possible on Wednesday. And hanging through Thursday, and then the moisture from that round begins to dry out a bit. But you notice it's all the way up here in Haida, Hawaii. The next little round is all the way up in Haida, Hawaii. Now, if we go back to the 12Z model here, this is the 360-hour run. Then you notice it tries to slide back south in the last run for Saturday morning, but it's fairly progressive. So it's going to be in and out in a matter of hours probably. So these are in 6-hour intervals, and it has it crossing our area within a single 6-hour interval before it's out of here. And that's probably a cold front coming through on Monday. We'll watch that. But then guess what? Models are showing it coming back again the following Wednesday. This is December 17th. But not looking as fixed on the area. It could be a little more progressive. We'll have to watch the trends as well. But then it sends the fire hose down towards NorCal, southern Oregon. Can you imagine if we got this up here? Especially after having these two atmospheric river events this week. Wouldn't that be something? Does Bucota have a rain shadow? Not that I've seen. No, the main rain shadow is the Olympic rain shadow. And of course, eastern Washington is pretty much the entirety a Cascade rain shadow. So, not much rain shadowing. There may be very local rain shadowing, but we don't have tall enough peaks outside of the mountain ranges to have significant rain shadowing. Wind shadowing, yes, but not rain shadowing. Let's go check out some Facebook comments because I've been reading the YouTube comments for a while. William Gatlin, what is the status of the White River? Not expecting any flooding along the White right now. There's quite a few sensors here along the White River, which in this area they call the Stuck River. But see, this station right here, the White River at R Street, only expected to hit action stage, which is below flood stage. And see, it's not relatively close to a minor flood stage. It has a max crest of around 6,977 cubic feet per second of flow. And minor flood stage is 7,500. So we're still remaining well below minor flood stage at the White River. Then same here at the Mud Mountain Dam. Not even close. The crest here is 9 kilocubic feet per second, and we're only getting up to about 6 kilocubic feet per second. So I think the White River is going to be safe this round. A little more concern exists for the Puyallup and Carbon, at least at the moment. You know, before a couple days ago, it wasn't showing any flooding along the Puyallup or the Carbon, but now it's starting to suggest an uptick. And again, due to that atmospheric river bouncing around, the forecasts are also bouncing around here on the maps as well. So expect these numbers to change again over the next few days as we get closer to the event. So right now, not seeing any major concern along the White River. Someone said, happy Saturday. Thank you from Sammamish. Couple of happy Saturdays. How strong is the wind going to be in the Bothell area on Monday? Well, let's look according to current high resolution model guidance, because it looks pretty strong area wide right now. Last couple of NAM model runs here. So it shows a wide area of 40 plus. This could be with a little embedded trough within the atmospheric river moving in. That could bring a bit of a pressure gradient to the area. See, you notice it's got a pretty tight pressure gradient over here in the South Sound. Yeah, because that's around the 1006 millibars up here in Vancouver Island. But a pretty localized pressure gradient forming across much of the area that could allow those winds to pick up considerably. So you look at this sharp cutoff here. This is going to be the front that really drives the atmospheric river down south. And by the time we hit the end of this model run, which is 10 p.m. Monday, this atmospheric river is going to begin to dive south of the area. And it should give our rivers a bit of breathing room before Wednesday's event. I say should pretty cautiously. See, it has the leading edge of rain entering the Puget Sound area by 5 a.m. on Monday. So by the time you guys wake up, if you're waking up around sunrise, it's going to be around this time, it's going to be a super soaker around here. Forgot to remind me to like and share. I'm always good for that. Yeah, that's the first. Haven't seen that yet. I mean, if you want to, sure, go ahead, like and share. Shout out to Julie, everybody, for the reminder. Sliding in late, Debbie Frosh. Rain in Burlington and about 10 mile per hour winds. Calm winds for now. Thank you for the report, Debbie, if you're still in here. Catching up on comments from the last 20 minutes or so. So yeah, Bothell area looks windy throughout the afternoon time on Monday. Like the entire general area here. Like, see, even Bothell's right on the cusp of 40 mile per hour wind gusts out of the southwest again. So similar to what we saw yesterday probably, but hopefully it's less than what the models are showing this time. Seems like there's an oscillation between underperforming and overperforming when it comes to the models. There's never really an in-between. Beam in my living room is cracked from the last one. Oh. Alaska just had a 7.5. Is that brand new? Because I know they had a 7.0 earlier. followed by a 5.1. Did they just have a new 7.5? I want to load up the map here. I'm seeing the 7.0, but I'm not seeing a 7.5. I think it would be much easier to find the map on this site, but guess not. Oh, yeah, yeah, Sonia had the follow-up. I didn't see 7.5. I saw it was down to like a 6.7. Yeah, I said that. And then it got bounced up to 6.8 and then 7.0. I didn't see anything higher than that initially. There's that donut hole again. Wow. See, it's a rain. That would be heck of an aftershock. That would make the previous earthquake look like a foreshock if that happened. But no, I don't believe we had anything significant after that 7.0. We had 5.1 by the looks of it after that. Yeah, a couple of 4.0 range aftershocks. Quite a few of them, actually. And then quite a few magnitude 3 aftershocks. There were actually 2 5.0 aftershocks, one of them a 5.1. Almost immediately after that earthquake. Yeah, plus Kilauea went off, and it actually took out the geological survey camera as well. Whatcom County Weather has good information, simple prep steps for the incoming rain. Yeah, if you guys haven't already, if you're on Facebook, go check out Whatcom County Weather. And they also have a YouTube channel as well. Go subscribe to Whatcom County Weather on YouTube. Really great page with a lot of information, especially for the Northwest interior residents up here. Ali Costello says, I want wind. How about Jefferson County? Yeah, you're going to be dealing with the wind shadow for parts of Jefferson County. Because the winds are going to be out of the southwest. So if you're along the coast of Jefferson County, you'll be getting the wind. But less confidence here if you're in the Discovery Bay, Port Townsend area. You know, Hood Canal, Floating Bridge side here. Port Ludlow, Port Hadlock, etc. So when the winds shift more out of the south or southeast, then you have a chance of getting some of this wind. This is early in the morning on Monday before that initial system comes through. But see, then we get a bit of a reprieve, and then those southwesterly winds kick up yet again over the area. But you notice, textbook wind shadow, this time a little bit more northeast oriented than last night's. Across the general area, the big winds off the coast of this were verified. Would probably be a good day to do some wave watching out here. Even has Hoquiam up over 50 miles per hour. Off the coast here, this is 60 or greater. The yellows are 60 or greater. So noon, 1 o'clock, Tacoma possibly getting some breezy winds, 1 o'clock on Monday. 2 o'clock, 44 or greater in Seattle possible. Again, southwesterly winds. 3 o'clock, we'll probably see our peak around this time around the area. 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. 7, 8, 9, 10. And you notice that front starts to slide out and we get a bit of a break after that. But due to this front moving almost north to south, it's going to pull the surge down into Everett. So Everett, you may get your round of, in this case, northwesterly surge winds by 10 p.m. Monday night. Let's check the wind direction again, just to make sure. Yeah, northwesterlies. You can tell where the front is because you get this dramatic shift in the wind direction once that front moves through. See, that's your frontal boundary right there. Notice the shift from southwesterly to northwesterly right behind it. Because the winds are going to be riding this cold front when it moves through. Could the smoke from the Hawaii volcano be dragged by the jet stream here? I can almost 100% assure you that Kilauea, being a shield volcano, will most likely not produce enough ejections into the atmosphere to catch the jet stream, let alone make it up here. If we're talking a huge stratovolcano, it's always possible. You know, like if you were to have a massive eruption from, say, Tambora, and you have the right conditions, it's entirely possible. But the best bet would be to have a stratovolcano erupt. You know, not saying it should happen anytime soon, but it would have to be a pretty major eruption because those particles are also going to be diluted by the water vapor as well. You know, take that into account. You know, the aliens are already here, Scott. No wind, please, tomorrow. Yeah, I wish I could tell you no to that, but not sure about that one, Chief. So you're from Silverdale, Jordan. I know that for sure. Let's go pinpoint your area. Not super strong, but could hit 30 miles per hour up there, North Kitsap, by noon tomorrow. And it'll remain breezy throughout much of the day. It could even hit 30 again later that night. But the bigger deal definitely looks like it's going to be Monday afternoon around much of the area. I was pretty impressed when I saw this model run come off the press. Even if we go back to the last model run, it's still showing around the same, but it brings the red farther south. So Seattle shares the wind with much of the southern Puget Sound here. And even the foothills too. Again, remember, southwest winds, not southeast, like they're normally accustomed to. "19 minutes ago, if you're still here, Corey Bloom. Any hope for the mountains by the end of next week?" Yeah, it's pretty sad so far. The best hope is going to be north of Stevens. So from Snohomish County northwards for the highest elevations of the Cascades, that's your greatest bet. Everything else, Stevens Pass southwards, is going to be a toss-up. It's going to be extremely conditional based on if we can clear out this subtropical moisture in a good amount of time, which right now is not the current indication over the next week or so. You know, as we go into Christmas week, we have a better chance of building some of that snowpack, but it's going to be a toss-up again, like I said. Driving over the Stillaguamish River today, that thing was nearly a foot from coming up and over. And that's just from today. That was a version 3 camera on the summit from what I've seen, says Adam Ferris. Did you mention Enumclaw Buckley yet for wind tonight and tomorrow? Kim Leonard is back with us. All right. So yeah, Enumclaw Buckley could be quite windy on Monday, but let's go look at tomorrow first. You could have this initial wave of wind come through early in the morning tomorrow. By around game time, Thankfully, again, it's in Atlanta and not here in downtown Seattle, because it would not be a great day to be kicking the football around. That's for sure. But Enumclaw area, again, is going to be right about there. And Hasu getting a little bit less than what we saw last night. But based on the overperformance we saw last night, I'm kind of tempted to lean towards the higher end of the spectrum again. And hopefully without it coming back to bite all of us. Which sometimes happens, which is why it's always just a matter of, is it going to underperform? Is it going to overperform? Is it going to hit the nail right on the head? It's always a different answer every single time. You know, Mother Nature is undefeated. So we got 25 likes on Facebook. Sweet. Thank you guys. 15 likes here on YouTube. Appreciate you guys hopping in this afternoon. Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, breezy by 11 a.m. across much of the Enumclaw Plateau. These are going to be southwest winds again, but it should cool off pretty quickly after that, with the occasional breeze from time to time, but not anything blustery, at least what we're seeing right now. And we may have an initial surge of wind from the southwest down here by 7 a.m. on Monday, but then it looks like it really starts to pick up starting around lunchtime on Monday. And this has the Enumclaw area at 44 miles per hour by 2 p.m., which is definitely up there. And remember, this is going to be after the rain begins falling, so the soils will be saturated across the area. This is a bit concerning, because even if the trees don't have leaves, you still have to worry about those huge evergreens, conifers, you know, all of the native trees around here that could easily be uprooted with the soil being as saturated as it is. And if we had the same wind gusts as last night, but with saturated soils, we could see some of the damage in this area amplified, including power outages. In which case, we still have some scattered power outages from last night, and even some new ones from today as well, from what I've seen. As a matter of fact, you know, really terrible story out of the Carnation area today, where a tree fell on a car, killed a person, and another one is in critical condition. You know, I saw that and I was like, there is no way. Like that's from either later this morning or earlier this afternonoon, but where the winds were still kicking up down there in the Snoqualmie River Valley, it was just unfortunate. Coney Jones, hello from the Skagit. Hello from up here on North Hill, Milton. The wind was definitely interesting in Snohomish County yesterday, 8:45 to around 12 winds, and then they dropped off until I got back into Seattle. Yeah, the wind behavior definitely was one that it was almost impossible to predict accurately. Karen Stewart, is Olympia going to get blasted? I wouldn't say blasted, but quite blustery Monday afternoon. And later in the morning, too. Your wind's really going to pick up with that initial surge coming in ahead. Like, this is where the rain's really going to begin falling, is right before this initial surge of wind comes in the area, where you could get a brief gust over 40 miles per hour by 7 a.m. on Monday. But it should really pick up later in the morning, Monday, and early in the afternoon around the area. But for tomorrow, you should really start to feel the wind pick up right around the time the sun rises tomorrow. And you could get some breezy gusts up towards 40 miles per hour at times. But it's going to calm down by the time night settles down, with an occasional breeze from time to time. Lisa Bassett, winds were pretty high last night here in Shelton. How's it look for us tomorrow and Monday? Yeah, Shelton, Sanderson Field got a 54 mile per hour gust last night. That's what prompted the expansion of the wind advisory. I think it was a poor call to include Thurston County in the wind advisory, in my opinion. It could have included Mason, yeah, but I think it was a poor call including parts of Thurston, including Olympia. We just didn't see any notable gusts down here after the expansion that would have prompted it being a valid call to expand it. Let's see, Shelton area. Could get pretty breezy late tomorrow morning. Up in the 30-mile-per-hour range. Then continuing to be breezy into the early morning tomorrow, or early morning Monday. And then that next surge comes up, and this you'll most likely really start to feel. This has you pretty close to 40 miles per hour by sunrise on Monday. And continuing to be quite blustery, and then it could really pick up with that second round that comes in. I'm tempted to call this a frontal feature. It's just a really sharp pressure rise back behind whatever kind of feature this is. This could just be an embedded trough coming in. Let's take a closer look at this too. Yeah, you can kind of see a kink in the low-level flow here. See, around 1,008 millibars in a pretty favorable spot for some wind. So yeah, pretty compact pressure gradient over the South Washington and North Oregon coast here. So that's why it's picking up some of that stronger wind off the coast, and it'll eventually work its way inland, but not as strong as what it's looking like off the coast. So you notice a little bit of a compact pressure gradient in some places across the interior here as we go into Monday afternoon here. And you just notice that continuous rainfall around this area too. But then by the time the model run ends, it'll start to slide to the south, and Bellingham area will dry out first, but it'll move from north to south, and then we'll see the winds shift out of the northwest behind this. So this could give Everett some wind later in the night on Monday. Venus K, Beamish, we are half a mile from the Chehalis, and we have a clerk that will probably clerk like a creek. That will flood you guys first. In that case, watch out for the Chehalis, because the Chehalis was showing moderate flooding at times. It's down to minor now, but I'm expecting these numbers to bounce around pretty erratically over the next couple of days. See, like this was at moderate last night, but now it's down to minor. But the Newaukum is still hanging around moderate. That's nothing. On the moons of Walmart, they can hit 200. Hope that person in critical condition will be okay. Yeah, I haven't seen a follow-up statement on that yet. I was just reading the initial news story on King 5. Yeah, some of these rivers are forecast to hit minor or moderate flooding, even around here in these areas too. But this is a pretty sharp rise compared to last night, but I think this may start to go down. Just a matter of when we get within about 24 hours of the potential cresting, what are the forecast trends going to be along the rivers? See, it's still Squamish here in Arlington, still holding on the minor flooding, but the Nooksack up here near Ferndale keeps bouncing between action stage and minor flooding. I can't get any continuity with some of these stations up here. This afternoon around 2 p.m. This one, Highway 203 from King 5 on Facebook. On the tree versus car. So yeah, just something else to keep an eye on. If you guys want to watch this site too, it's water.noaa.gov, and I'll put the link down in the comments for you guys as well. If you live by a river, I highly recommend this site. You know, keep it bookmarked, keep it on standby as the next couple of days come up, because these are going to change 100%. Yeah, if you're along the Chehalis River, that would be one of the rivers to watch closely. Keep an eye on forecast, and if you see it starting to get up towards the crest, consider sandbagging or possibly evacuating for a short time. I can't stress enough the possibility here for the Snoqualmie River near Carnation, which was originally, it was showing a crest for 3 days, but now it only wants to do a major crest for the first day and then have minor flood crests for the days coming up after that. So a good downtrend for the Snoqualmie River, but still cresting over major flood stage at least once. At least it's not for 3 days right now, knock on wood. Yeah, see a lot of comments on Facebook. Sorry if I missed your question. If I missed your question, go ahead and post it one more time and I'll get right to it. Just had a pretty good surge of people asking questions there on Facebook for a while. And, while I was answering people on YouTube's questions, might have missed your Facebook question. So, again, sorry about that. So yeah, the last observation here for the Snoqualmie River, just outside of Carnation here, the last hourly observation was 48.33 feet at 5:15 p.m. today, which is 2 feet, a little over 2 feet below action stage, but it's forecast to hit action stage sometime between 4 p.m. and 10 p.m. on Monday with that first system coming through. And from then, it just takes a huge jump up towards major flooding stage. Over a 6-hour period, it's predicted to go from just below the crest at minor flood stage to cresting just below major flood stage in a 6-hour period. The Squally River down in McKenna usually doesn't flood. How's it looking for the system coming through? Well, they've got a station down here, coincidentally, right at McKenna, and no flooding is expected downstream towards the delta here. But upstream, could see some flooding here near National, just outside of the National Park entrance here. This is just outside of Ashford here. And this has moderate flooding in the forecast. And it's a little bit hard to tell, but it's actually right on the cusp of major as well. It's about 100 cubic feet per second of flow below major flood stage in the forecast. I gotta say, in the forecast. And this would be at 4 a.m. on Tuesday after that initial round on Monday. Which right now, the axis of moisture is aimed more towards Seattle southward. A little more worrisome north of Seattle for Wednesday's system, but south of Seattle may get pummeled by Monday's system, which is why they're showing these crests here along these southwest Washington rivers earlier than the northwest Washington rivers. Then Weather Prediction Center. There's a few new outlooks in effect for our area. So we now have, it doesn't show up on here for day 5, but we do have a day 5 outlook now too. So you have a day 3 slight, day 4 slight, and a day 5 slight. Which you just don't see very often at all. So slight is higher than marginal. Marginal is 5% of flash flooding within 25 miles of a point, and 15% for slight within 25 miles of a point. So day 5 doesn't show up on the interactive yet, but the day 3 here, so this would be for Monday, highlights the coast, Olympic Peninsula, Southwest Interior, and the Cascades here, with the rest of us being in a marginal threat. So as said here, Weather Prediction Center forecasts the probability that rainfall will exceed flash flood guidance within 25 miles of a point. So flash flood conditions between 5 to 15% possible for the entirety of western Washington on Monday. Then you see it shifts more down to the southwest for Tuesday, including much of the coast here, parts of the Olympic Peninsula, and the southwest interior from Lewis County southward, but not really including the Cascades. So this would give a lot of the Cascade rivers a bit of a break on Tuesday. And day 5 doesn't show up on the interactive yet. You can see down here on the map, this goes back and this covers the Seattle metro area, as well as almost the entirety of the coast, a lot of northwestern Oregon, and all of the southwest interior. So I think the biggest concern is going to be for the rivers down south of Olympia. So Chehalis, Skookumchuck, Newaukum, etc. You guys know who you are. Keep an eye out for changes in the forecast. Yesterday was fun to do reports for you as I was working for the wind. I was pretty busy, so I really never got back on. That is okay. Sounds like lots of standing water for driving possible. Yeah, remember those floods a number of years back down on I-5 down near Chehalis? I don't know if we'll get up to that stage, but we'll have to be on the lookout to see if it gets close. Right now, none of those rivers are predicted to hit major, but that could change here over the next couple of days. Like really over the next 36 to 48 hours is going to be the best time frame to predict this, because it's forecasting a lot of these rivers to hit flood stage by Tuesday morning or Monday night. So we're really watching the Skookumchuck, Chehalis, and Newaukum down here. See, Newaukum River near Chehalis could hit moderate. Gonna be getting a lot of rainfall up here in the foothills of Lewis County, where a lot of these rivers begin. So all of that runoff coming down the mountains into the forks of the rivers, where all the forks meet and become the actual river, that is going to be the area of concern for all the river valleys here. So I-5 from Grand Mound south to Napavine will probably be the area to keep an eye on the closest over the next couple of days with these systems. Yeah, like Keith said on YouTube, remember, turn around, don't drown if you drive through flooded roads. If you guys saw the Westport stream today, Washington Weather Chasers was streaming the Westport observation tower cam. And even though there was coastal flooding along the roads due to high swells and high tidal overflow, there were still people driving through it. There was even a truck driving through it and the water went up to his hood. And there were people standing on the rocks at the end of the jetty too, which is not smart. Just don't do that. Please, just don't do that for your own safety. So yeah, yellow is action stage. This does not mean flooding. It just means be ready in case it floods. Like there's a tolerance between action stage and minor flood stage here, which usually gives you enough time to prep in case it does begin the crest. So like for example, the chutes here near Rainier, which is not expected to flood, has a 2-foot tolerance between action stage and minor flood stage. So if you put the phrase on your mark, get ready, get set, go all together, this would be on your mark. Orange would be get ready, red would be get set, purple would be go. But you would actually want to get ready and get set when you see the orange. Then you really want to start going if you see the red here. And you definitely don't want to be down there if you're in the purple. Yeah, going to be interesting to track the Snoqualmie here too. Because it has the Snoqualmie hitting its max crest by 10 a.m. Tuesday. So that initial system could have quite a bit of a burst of rainfall falling in the foothills of the Cascades here where the Snoqualmie River feeds from. And see major flooding at the falls possible too. So if you can get out to the falls, which I don't 100% recommend that, But if you feel like going out to the falls, good photo shoot opportunities for a really raging waterfall there in Snoqualmie. Scott Buchanan says, I floated a Volkswagen Bug across the flooded parking lot. Try that with a Chevy Impala. So I guess quick little recap of the rivers real quick. The Nooksack here at the Highway 544 overflow keeps bouncing up and down between action and non-action stage. Like, see, it's literally just been wobbling between the entire time. But the Nooksack near Ferndale, which was showing minor flooding last night, is now no longer expected to hit minor flooding. You actually saw a pretty considerable drop-off there today. But this is showing between 5:30 tonight when the last observation happened and 10 p.m. tonight, a big almost 1.5 foot jump, which I think this is overdoing it. If we go look at the radar right now, there's really not much going on outside of some passing showers all around the sound. I think that may just be a really inaccurate forecast. It's either the reading's inaccurate, which I'm not believing, or the forecast is just severely overdoing this. See, that's a big jump over a 4.5 hour period. We'll make good photo opportunities on that river. I'm sure the news channel will be showing it. Fun to see. Yeah, it is fun to see during the year. I've only seen the Snoqualmie Falls once. It was back in summertime of 2014, and it was just a little pitter-patter compared to what it could be. Skagit River near Concrete, this one is still showing a possibility, an outside chance of major flooding, but expected to only crest here at moderate flooding by Tuesday at 10 a.m., and then quickly dropping off down to non-flood stage. And downstream at Mount Vernon, still within about 0.15 or so feet, within 1/4 of a foot, so that's less than 3 inches between the crest and major flood stage here. So we could possibly still see this go up to major flood stage here downstream at Mount Vernon. Just a little heads up for you guys here. I saw someone watching the stream last night was along the Delta, said they were concerned, and I was like, yeah, you probably should be. Judging by the forecast, how they're going. You may want to have an evacuation plan just in case you start to see the river crest its banks. At the very least, just sandbag away. This is the Stillaguamish downstream near Arlington. This is in downtown Arlington. See, on a downward trend. And then a big spike Monday morning. And then cresting at around 10 p.m. on Monday and holding that crest. And then going back down in the flood stage Tuesday morning. So this would crest close to 3/4 of a foot, so a little under 9 inches above minor flood stage by 10 p.m. on Monday. That's the Stillaguamish here in Arlington. Let's see, South Fork, Stillaguamish here. I think this is Granite Falls. Yeah, it's outside of Granite Falls, action stage, not expected to flood. There's about a 1 foot tolerance between action stage and flood stage. It's more of a get ready kind of ordeal. It doesn't mean flooding. It just means get ready, prepare, in case it does. Keith Capolero. Yeah, Ben will most likely be out there. I know he's about to take his FAA Part 107 test here on Monday. So I think right after that, he's probably going to dart up to, or down to, because he lives in Lake Stevens. He'll probably dart down to either the Snoqualmie or the Snohomish River to catch some flooding with aerials. And then the Snohomish at Snohomish. This one has been showing moderate flooding pretty progressively. And this one has hourly updates, which I find pretty interesting. It has a crest of 27.73 feet, which is about 3/4 of a foot above moderate flood stage by 4 p.m. on Tuesday. So again, that initial round of rainfall that comes through Monday could send the Snohomish River near the town of Snohomish here up to moderate flood stage. Snohomish near Monroe, last night, this was showing major flooding, but has downtrended towards moderate flooding. See, it's only a 1 foot difference between the 3 stages of flooding here, so it doesn't take too much to change this. So this is probably going to be one of those swing spots that'll bounce up and down progressively over the next couple of days. Glad the Oso Arlington high will be at night. Sonia says, be right back. All good. Take your time. All right, and then we go further upstream where the Snohomish becomes the Skykomish near Gold Bar, just west of the Big Bend area. This has a slightly lower crest than it was showing before, but it has it progressively cresting at around 18 feet, which is right between moderate and major flood stage, with the highest crest being just over 18 feet at 4 a.m. on Tuesday. And right, like just a hair below 18 feet by 10 p.m. Monday. So again, it's looking like the influence of this first atmospheric river is going to be more area wide, but mainly south of Seattle. But that doesn't mean that the mountains north of Seattle aren't going to get anything or very little. The mountains all around are still expected to get considerable amounts of precipitation, mostly in the form of rain, especially if you're south of Snohomish County. So this could be one of those spots where we once again see it bounce around between moderate and major. Says a heads up if you know anyone along the Skykomish from Index downstream towards Sultan. Just let them know that's a possibility. Even farther down, because remember, the Skykomish feeds into the Snohomish. Where the Skykomish and the Snoqualmie merge, that's where the Snohomish begins. And the entirety of the Snohomish is expected to moderate flood, with parts of the Skykomish moderate flooding as well. So really, if you're anywhere along the Skykomish from where it originates all the way down to Monroe, then you need to keep a close eye on this. And then the Tolt upstream from Carnation, also expected to hit moderate. But it's going to be quite a ways out from major, so we shouldn't have to worry about major flooding right now for the Tolt River. That doesn't mean that the Snoqualmie River won't be threatened by this. So this has the Tolt River currently just barely cresting over moderate flood stage by 10 p.m. on Monday. And of course, we already went over the Snoqualmie at the Falls and Carnation. You know, I wouldn't want to be down in Carnation Monday night, Tuesday morning. I really wouldn't want to be down there any time through Thursday, honestly. If you're in the Carnation or Duval area, watch this extremely closely. Even down the Falls City as well, because if you have 2 stations around you at major flood stage, potentially, this will affect Falls City as well. A lot of action stages and a lot of no floods around the Central and South Sound here. But South Prairie Creek near South Prairie expected to crest at minor flood stage by 10 p.m. Monday. And then the Carbon River up near Fairfax expected to crest just below moderate flood stage here. Moderate flood stage is 14.5 feet. This is within like 0.05 feet, which is less than an inch below moderate flood stage as of current forecasts right now. This would be at Monday at 10 p.m. for the Carbon River near Fairfax. And then Puyallup River near Ording, which is odd because this river doesn't usually flood, let alone moderate flood, and very rarely does it major flood. But it's been seeing an upward trend over the last few model updates here. It And it's getting really close to major flood stage upstream of the Puyallup up towards Electron. Will be one to watch closely for the Orting residents. Quite a population down there in Orting. Scott Buchanan says, great coverage. Thank you, Scott, for your kind words. Nisqually International could get close to major as well early Tuesday morning around 4 a.m. But should quickly drop off back down into minor flood stage and hopefully drop off quickly after Thursday. What I'm seeing is a lot of these river flood forecasts are starting to turn away from any other rainfall, any major rainfall on Friday. That's just because it looks like right now the atmospheric river on Friday, if it holds on, is looking to shift farther north towards northern Vancouver Island and the Queen Charlotte Islands, which would almost, if not completely, miss the Pacific Northwest down here, like Washington and Oregon. May even miss Vancouver Island as a whole too. It really depends on if we can get that ridge to build back up into this area, because it's going to depend on the position of the ridge. If the ridge begins to slide farther north, it's going to give us a calmer period of weather Friday going into the weekend, which would give our rivers a huge much needed break. And then along the Chehalis River here, so we're expecting minor flooding possible near Porter here. The Chehalis follows US 12 down towards Grand Mound here. Even then, just barely minor flood stage. It's not expected to get anywhere close to moderate flood stage right now. The crest of about 48.5 feet by 4 p.m. Friday. So this would be after the two main systems come through. But you see, it just gets into minor flood range by Thursday morning. And continues that through Saturday. So it could hang out at minor flood stage for a couple of days potentially. Further downstream, here at Grand Mound, as it crosses into Lewis County, expected to have a crest of a little over 141.5 feet, which is safely below moderate flood stage. I think we couldn't tell if we just got an update there or not. Might have been a refresh, but shows around Friday at 4 a.m. We'll have a crest of around 141.5 feet, which is about 21,200 cubic feet per second of flow. And then the Newaukum near Chehalis here, which I know we saw this one flood a few years back. It was 2017, I think. It might have been sooner than that, though. I think because 2014 was a really active year for flooding. I remember 2014 quite well, especially March of 2014. I think a lot of I-5 flooded during that time. But not much of a difference here between moderate and major flood stage on the Newaukum, and the record flood stage is major flood stage. So any small tweaks to this forecast that increase it have the Newaukum near Chehalis threatening an all-time record Monday night. So something else to keep tabs on. And then for any of our NWS Portland area viewers, down here, Wahkiakum County, Grays River near Rossburg, another one that frequently floods. Expected to hit minor flood stage not once, not twice, but 3 times over 3 different, looks like 3 different days. Yeah, 3 different days of repeatedly cresting and dipping below flood stage here, with a max crest of over 30 feet possible by Wednesday night. If you know anyone along the Grays River, tell them to pay attention to the river flood forecast. Could change dramatically. This one was showing moderate last night, but has been downgraded to minor, which is good news. And then our most commonly flooding river here around Western Washington. This could be argued though, but at least historically, the Skokomish River near Potlatch, the one that's famous for having salmon cross the road during flood events, could get up to moderate flood stage by Tuesday morning after that initial Monday system. Adam says, I remember that flooding of I-5. At our job, we couldn't drive to Portland after Monday in that storm. Yeah. You know, when you cut off I-5 down there, Portland to Seattle is virtually inaccessible because it floods the railroad tracks as well. You really just have to travel by air if you can. Otherwise, you have to go all the way out to the coast and go through Astoria and then back down through the Columbia River Valley to get into Portland. It's a huge hassle, but sometimes it has to be done. So Skokomish River has 3 different crests as well across 3 different days here. The max crest of a little over 17.5 feet expected, which is moderate flood stage by Tuesday morning. But it could get just under moderate flood stage by 10 p.m. the night before. This would be Monday night. The considerable jump over a 12-hour period from not flooding to moderate flooding like that. From 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. on Monday. And receding again down to just a hair below minor flood stage, but then minor flooding again by Wednesday night. And then same deal, except a little bit of a longer break. And then expected to flood again just below moderate flood stage by 10 p.m. on Friday. A little bit of a roller coaster there, quite literally. Hills and valleys. So yeah, let's refresh again, see if there's any changes. Not seeing any changes right now, so I think that covers everything. Unless you have a special request to go over one area one more time. Feel free if you need something else restated. Yeah, PSE map, I still have it here. Holding around 1,875, updated as of 3 minutes ago. See, quite a number of sporadic power outages here and there still, with some of these being new. A lot of these are little singular household power outages, so we won't really count those. Like 6:56 a.m., this could be wind damage in the Grassmere neighborhood near Concrete. Then 7:50 a.m., 5 customers impacted up by the Baker River Dam. Says there was an equipment failure here on I-5 along Mount Vernon. And seeing a few outages still present down here in Olympia. From earlier this morning, still working on a power outage, but they have a crew assigned here. This is right around the Highway 8, Highway 101 interchange. Just southeast of there. Like right where you would go off to Evergreen State College here. This was earlier this morning. It says customer equipment, which is interesting, but some parts of Kitsap County and Pierce County still out here as well. This one was actually an afternoon event. This one has 600, just about 600 out, but repair crews on site. Maplewood neighborhood, right as you cross into Kitsap County here. So this was this afternoon. Still had some breezy winds out here that caused some localized tree damage and power outages. I remember this one popping up from last night. Repair crews on site, but the restoration time is TBD. It fixed Vashon Island except for like one customer. Outside of a few sporadic outages out here in the foothills, it's still one affecting parts of Mercer Island as well from last night. We're pretty much mostly fixed around the area. Now, still trying to get the rest of the ridge back up too. Yes, Scott, you did make her smile. But yeah, most things are fixed when it comes to PSE. The outage map is no longer lighting up like a Christmas tree. Good news. We got some passing showers in the Tacoma area right now. So I'm expecting to start to hear the pitter-patter outside from the rain here momentarily. Then some showers down here. Yelm, Roy, Spanaway, Graham, Eatonville area, moving from west to east. Heavier showers over the strait right now, about to affect Victoria, BC. And of course, showers up in the mountains as well, which in the higher elevations should be falling as snow, but down here in like Snoqualmie Pass, for example, is probably falling as rain. You see, even with the sunset on the area, you can still see the plume of moisture extending down towards Hawaii here. So a ridge to the south, trough to the north, guiding the atmospheric river in. And a much bigger trough here about to guide this thing in beginning late tomorrow, early Monday morning. Then this is the real deal coming up, folks. This is the real deal. Extending all the way down to the Philippines here. So this is what's to come over the next 2 days and beyond. All right, for anyone interested in the coastal flood advisories, do have a few new coastal flood advisories going into effect for Monday, including Whatcom, Skagit, and San Juan counties. So the current coastal flood advisory for today expired at 3 p.m. But see, we have two more. One goes into effect for this area from 5 a.m. to 11 a.m. tomorrow, and then another one from 6 a.m. to noon on Monday. Both of these during high tides the next 2 days. See, although this goes inland, this is only for the coastal areas. So parts of Bellingham, Neptune Beach, Blaine, San Juan Islands along the coast, Anacortes area. A few other spots here we'll need to keep a close eye on things. Only minor coastal flooding expected, thankfully. Then I don't think they may have another one for the coast, but I don't believe so. I think they may have allowed the coast one to expire without any additional issuance. If I enable the active alerts, it's going to be overshadowed by the flood watch across the area. This is out of date, so odd enough, it shows it's up to date, but no, it's not, because these alerts, the winter weather alerts, were canceled later this morning. See, yeah, I'm not seeing any additional coastal flood alerts along the coast. Not even for the NWS Portland zones either. Only seeing the aerial and small stream flood watch right now. So yeah, you see this lighter shade of green here? That's the current coastal flood alert. So now the threat of minor coastal flooding has moved inland for the northwest waters here, not including Island County. It looks like the threat right now is over for the coast in the Strait of Juan de Fuca. So I think we may have finally gotten over the king tides without many problems. But minor coastal flooding was reported the last few days, including in Westport today, where several inches of water came up over the banks. But yeah, breezes calming down or coming to an end across much of the area now, at least until tomorrow. And 0Z NAM is almost done, so perfect. The entire time we were looking away from the models, we allowed the 0Z to render. Now we should have a more up-to-date picture of what's to come. So, yeah, tomorrow morning, bit of a soaker around the area, but relatively short-lived. It should start to dry out with only passing showers by the afternoon time. Convergence zone possible up here much farther north than we usually see it because of that southwest low-level flow around the Olympics, merging again over Skagit and Snohomish counties here. Even that convergence zone should be relatively short-lived. Then as we start to go into Monday, here comes that wall of rain, again beginning around the South Sound, the southwest interior here around 5 a.m., moving up to the Tacoma area by 6 a.m. and completely engulfing us by 10 a.m. Going to take a little bit to fill in, but you notice the pressure gradient right behind it as well. Pretty favorable pressure gradient for some winds off the coast and inland here as we go through the morning time and into the afternoon time on Monday. Showing the rain shadow here pretty good on the high resolution models. May get a little bit of a break in the rain for the Kitsap Peninsula and Seattle area, potentially. You see by the end of this run, which goes out to 8 p.m. right now, but it'll go out to 4 a.m. once it's finished. But by 8 p.m., okay, see, we got 2 more hours there. So now we're at 10 p.m. This is where the last model run ended. And you notice the difference here between the last run and the new run. It still has Whatcom County in the rain by 10 p.m. So it's starting to bring the top end of this rain border here a bit farther north, which means we could have longer duration rain for some of these rivers here on Monday, especially north of Seattle. Which is a bit of a concerning sign. Yeah, that looks like the cold front coming through. So that, when it slides south, could allow the snow levels to drop enough for places like Stevens Pass northward for some snow to fall. But still pretty low confidence that we'll see snowfall for Stevens Pass southward. May get a little bit for White Pass since it's higher than Snoqualmie, but it's looking like Snoqualmie may be the only pass that gets very little to no snow throughout this next week-long period. At least initially. Yeah, it shows the mountains and foothills taking the brunt of the precipitation, with some passing heavy showers likely for parts of the Seattle area as we go through late Monday morning. It's going to be pretty steady rainfall throughout the day with potential breaks in the rain for some areas as we go through the afternoon. Then once that front begins to slide south, the heaviest rain should come to an end until Wednesday around the area. Yeah, Keith says Neptune Beach and Cherry Point up here. Gonna get up for a quick stretch break, guys. If you have any questions, go ahead and list them. But before I get up, have a huge announcement to make as well. I forgot to say this the entire stream so far. We hit 1,200 subs today. So we gained 20-something subs since last night's stream began, which is awesome. Thank you guys for subbing to the channel. So 1,200 and only going up from here. Yeah, thank you, Sonia. Yeah, 1,200 subs. Awesome. Yeah, it's looking like most of the day Monday will be raining, with minimal breaks in the rain around most of Western Washington here. So we hit 100 views on the stream already. Thank you guys. On Facebook's, on YouTube's end. Yeah, it's transition period where most of the people start to leave Facebook and start to hop on here on YouTube. wasn't expecting tonight's stream to be too popular because there's not much weather going on right now. But tomorrow's stream, no, actually I'm not streaming tomorrow because of football. But Monday's stream could be quite fascinating with the wind going on at around the same time. And besides, we haven't checked the new model for the wind yet, so let's check the trend on the wind real quick. B Copshaw 6001 asks, how hard is it going to hit South Hill Puyallup? Sorry if you already answered this, just join. That is okay. So South Hill Puyallup, this entire area could get well over an inch, up to an inch and a half of rain through the day Monday. More so south of Seattle. Wow, a big time trend up for the 0Z NAM, guys. Now has parts of Tacoma here getting up to 50 miles per hour again. Just look off the coast here. Not far off the coast of Ocean Shores and Westport, 60 miles per hour. This would be at noon on Monday. So this is after the leading edge of rain comes in. Let's check out tomorrow. Tomorrow's around the same. Yeah, it's trended up on Seattle a little bit, but it's holding Tacoma steady at around 40 miles per hour at 10 a.m. tomorrow. So right around the start of game time, it could be quite windy around the area, with winds sharply picking up as soon as the sun rises. So expect it to calm down almost completely, like close to a dead silent, but a really slight breeze around much of the area tonight and early tomorrow morning. On this day 2 years ago when I lived in Stanwood, the Stilly in Stanwood spilled over its banks. Yeah, I remember Ben just posted that on his page, actually, a little throwback reel of the Stilly overflowing. So, yeah, when it comes to wind, we're expecting blustery winds. Could be strong in some spots tomorrow, but stronger on Monday. So we could see some spots in the 45 to 50 mile per hour range possible by noon on Monday. This includes South Hill as well. Go back to switch to the radar. During this time, it's pouring down rain across much of the area. So we could have these peak winds around the time the soil becomes saturated, which would allow those tree roots to uproot much more easily compared to having an almost dry wind event last night and early this morning. So it's something to really keep tabs on. See, and I can't tell if that's the frontal boundary or a convergence zone, but I'm guessing that's the frontal boundary sliding from northwest to southeast. This is going to pull the northwesterly winds into Everett. So the winds that affected parts of Whidbey Island and the San Juan Islands last night are actually going to get pulled down towards the southeast into Everett behind that. Let's see, it's more of a northwesterly surge at that. So yeah, you notice as soon as that front begins to come through, right there, the wind direction is going to change and it's really going to pick up coming out of the Strait of Juan de Fuca when those westerly winds come through the strait behind that front. And then things are going to almost completely die off. Like it's going to be a sharp drop off in wind around much of the area as we go into Tuesday morning. And we're expecting a break Tuesday around the area, both rain and wind-wise. Then we're not in high-res range of Wednesday yet. So, we can't be too relieved until we get to about tomorrow night when the high-res models start to get in the range of Wednesday's event. Because right now we're working with mid-range models, and they're not always the best resolution when it comes to wind and rain prediction. Yeah, Scott said TVs love power outages. That they do. Not. Daniel Mung 9098 in Portland, have enough of this mild malarkey. Want to see Arctic air soon with lowland snow chances and big time Cascade snow. It's going to be difficult to get cold air into the Puget Sound area, let alone the Willamette River Valley area. You're really going to need an extremely strong Arctic push out of the north to have that happen, and that just looks unlikely, like extremely unlikely, almost impossible over the next 2-week period that most of the models cover. So I'm going to say keep dreaming for now, at least till after Christmas time. It will be a fun drive into work at 5 a.m. Monday morning, up 167 from 512. Yeah. If you're leaving at 5 a.m., then yeah, definitely. But if you get there by 5 a.m., you may beat the leading edge of rain into wherever you're going. But if you have to leave by 5 a.m., then yeah, you're kind of SOL beating the rain to wherever you have to go. Let's refresh Facebook real quick. Yeah, Facebook's really slow updating the insight section for some reason. It was stuck at 20 viewers and 25 likes. I just refreshed it and it's 5 viewers and 56 likes now. So Facebook streaming is still having some issues. Just got to make sure I keep refreshing the comments from time to time too, because I've lost some comments in the mix, unfortunately, by having the chat box freeze. Just put flock on my jacket. Going to have a white Christmas one way or the other. That, you know, honestly, you could just throw like cotton in the air and have it rain down on you. You know, like little polyester cotton in the bags. Just throw it in the air and there's your white Christmas. It doesn't have to be snow. If it's white, it's white. Okay, 0Z her's done too. See what the 0Z says for a similar time. This goes out to Monday, 4 p.m. And see, initially, even the her is showing strong winds at this time too. Her actually shows 52 here in Tacoma by 10 a.m. A little earlier in the day on Monday than the NAM is showing. This would be a considerable blow to parts here of the South Sound. Let's see, some areas here sheltered by the Willapa Hills, but even then, the wind gusts coming through the gaps may be strong enough to reach down the I-5 corridor. So we'll have to watch some areas like Olympia too, because even Olympia is up to 45 miles per hour in this forecast. And see, showing the strong winds immediately off the Oregon coast here too. Cape Disappointment as well, up to 60 miles per hour. Scott said the best asbestos. Ja George says, was kind of surprised I had 8 feet of river in Oso this morning. Yeah, Daniel. Not so typical of a La Nina winter like we'd think, where normally it's supposed to be cooler and wetter, but it's actually warmer and wetter. More indicative of what you usually see during a neutral or an El Nino. So yeah, 0Z Her's fresh off the press. Let's see what it shows for tomorrow. It doesn't show it as windy around the area, which is good tomorrow. Still some spots in the 30 mile per hour range, but we're not seeing as much close to 40, even in the foothills. So that would be pretty good for us. But my biggest concern here is going to be Monday. Let's see where the position of the rain is during this time. Now, as a note, sometimes the HRRR overdoes precipitation, so the rain may not be as heavy as it's showing here around the area. But it just shows heavy rain around much of the area, and again, picking up on that rain shadow here between Seattle and Everett too. But parts of that rain shadow could fill in when the back end of that front slides through on Monday, and the flow shifts to northwesterly behind it. But winds will be out of the southwest around the area. See, as shown here, southwesterlies. Even has sustained winds over 21 knots in some areas. Along the water, 26 knots. This is 30 mile per hour sustained. You notice here a really tight pressure gradient over the area from 1008 to 1014 between the Central Olympic Peninsula and Lewis County here. That would bring some good wind to much of the area if that were to verify. Which has the winds really starting up around the area beginning at 7 a.m. on this model. So it's still a little bit of disagreement on the timing of winds around the area. The NAM model, which I showed before, has winds starting around, has peak winds around noon on Monday, but the HRRR model here has peak winds by 10 a.m. We could see several periods here throughout the day where we get close to 50 here around Tacoma. Even up in Everett, it's showing 50 miles per hour in Everett, where the wind missed almost entirely last night. It shows you getting a better chance of these strong winds making it up to Everett in central Snohomish County here with this next system Monday afternoon. Really big uptrend in the model runs here, which is definitely concerning for this area. So I'm gonna have to put out an update for tonight, 100%, talking about the possibility. It's probably going to stir some panic, but I'm going to have to say, okay, let's pump the brakes for a little bit. This isn't a given, although it did overperform in some areas last night. It doesn't mean it's going to happen again. You know, possibly, but not certainly. Really something to keep tabs on as we get closer. Let's compare these to the European. European is usually considerably less, and this is usually the model that does verify, but some areas blew the European out of the water last night. See, the European shows a much more modest 38 for Tacoma, but you see, as I go down into UP and Lakewood down here, it's still showing 47 miles per hour near the strait. And over the Kitsap Peninsula, still a solid 50. Over Bremerton National Airport right here. And off the coast, upwards of 50 as well. This was between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. on Monday. And spreading over parts of the foothills as well, where once again we could get some strong wind gusts here along I-90 out of the southwest direction. Looks like we have yet another Keith on YouTube. 20s for lows the last 3 days in northeast Arizona. All right. Tuning in from Northeast Arizona. Keith, out of curiosity, how did you find my channel up here in the Puget Sound in Washington? If you feel like it, go ahead and let me know how you found Puget Sound Stormwatch, since you're in Northeast Arizona. Yeah, of course, I'm going to be 100% honest with you guys. You know, I'm going to be blunt. I'm going to say model runs are trending up, but some of them may be trending up too far. And it's not always going to be overperformance. It could be underperformance, or it could hit the nail on the head. It's just a matter of what if, and this is why we have to watch it in real time to see if these things outperform the models or not, which, as we saw when we were on the stream last night, when that wind advisory went into effect, we were overperforming in a lot of areas, but there were areas like Thurston County which underperformed. You know, it's a balance. And once again, Mother Nature is undefeated in that aspect. Your post on YouTube. All right. So the algorithms caught on, I see. Well, welcome to Puget Sound Stormwatch. We cover weather up here, mainly across western Washington state. So in case you're interested, feel free to tag along for the future. We have that active pattern coming up that's making national headlines around here. So I'm expecting an increase in activity here on the streams and on my posts as well. So thank you, Keith, for joining along. Really appreciate it. If you haven't already, please feel free to subscribe for future updates and live streams like this one. Looks like we're up to a record 18 viewers now here on YouTube. Just hit 25 likes. Awesome sauce. Thank you guys for that. Going on just shy of 2 hours here on the stream. We're probably going to wrap it up around 8 o'clock. Because I definitely need to go to sleep at a better time tonight and not 1 a.m. Because I woke up and I was almost completely dysfunctional the whole day today. Today, I consider today a wasted day, an exception of this stream here. I looked at my total stream time yesterday with the 2 streams. I streamed for over half the day. Literally, over 12 hours yesterday. No wonder my voice box was burnt up by the end of last night. Oh, boy. Sounds like Snohomish County is going to be fun to be out in. Yes. Travel along I-5 on Monday could be quite treacherous. Is the weather mild because of the MJO? What is the best MJO phase for cold and snow in the Pacific Northwest? So I'm no expert on the Madden-Julian oscillation, but from what I've seen from the other Pacific Northwest weather experts, we usually want to be in a phase 1 or 2. But it looks like we're going to stop and hold on to a phase 8 of the Madden-Julian oscillation. I wish I had more information to give to you on that, but I'm far from an expert when it comes to Earth's oscillations. I'm mainly just focusing on Puget Sound area weather patterns, mostly. But we're definitely not in an ideal phase for snow around these parts. Why does it show less? Jendar, welcome in. Winds near the I-5 near Napavine, Lewis County. With winds coming out of the southwest, the Willapa Hills are going to help wind shadow the river valleys that I-5 flows through. So if it were more out of the south, you wouldn't have that shadowing. You would be shooting up the Columbia River here and then up through the I-5 corridor. But since it's out of the southwest, the Willapa Hills are going to be absorbing a majority of this wind as they come in. Same with the Black Hills as well. Scott Buchanan, amazing tools you have to play with. In 2007, I started weather classes in the Coast Guard. Second part of that is not funny. Wow. But got ran over by a truck, altering my career path. Wow. Super sorry to hear that, Scott. That is extremely unfortunate. Yeah, 2007 was a different ballpark. I'm extremely grateful I grew up in this time period just for the technology that we have access to. Because if I would have been born in the 80s or 90s doing this, it would be a whole different game. Nowadays it's so easy for anyone to become a weather influencer. And not trying to sell myself short. I wanted to go to school for the longest time to be a meteorologist. But things just didn't pan out financially and life-wise. So I took a different path myself, and now I'm aiming more towards sort of a weather entrepreneurship, I suppose. Or as some people would say, an influencer nowadays. It really just depends on your take. But I enjoy what I do. I just hope I can make it much more profitable here and soon. Because time is running out with this little experiment I have going on. William says, you're unfortunately too young to remember the Woppler Doppler. Yeah, actually, when I worked at Safeway, everyone would call me Woppler, like Andy Woppler. So I know the name. I just haven't seen him on TV or seen any of his work. I'm grateful to have seen Steve Poole in action, though. You know, arguably, probably one of the best Pacific Northwest weather anchors of all time. Andy the Wobbler Doppler. Oh, Andy and the Wobbler Doppler. They had celestial navigation also. Sounds like fun. Yeah, I bet if I put my mind to a different study, then I would excel. But right now, I'm just not in the right place and right time to consider going back to school or continuing my studies. You know, I think I'm fine where I'm at right now. Just need a little bit more help behind the scenes, but outside of that, I think everything is going pretty well, in my opinion. See, so yeah, this European is not in range of Friday yet, but Friday's looking much less windy around the area and much less rainy also. It only wants to keep some passing showers after Thursday afternoon, and then it just has the moisture drying out around the area. I suspect this is because it's bringing the plume of atmospheric moisture way up north. And see, this ridge is coming back into play. Let's look at the upper level air patterns to see what the heights are. Oh yeah, big time ridge. Big time. So no wonder it shifts that atmospheric river way up to the north. It has Captain Ridge right on our doorstep, drying us out. May even be in a really pleasant weather pattern here going into next weekend. This sends the atmospheric river all the way up to Haida, Kauai, even north of there. Now, see, that jet stream is way north of us. This is a massive ridge. This is new on the 18Z Euro. But let's see what the GFS says for this. GFS has the ridge even stronger. Wow. That is something. Jeff Renner used to do CG classes. Yeah, I remember watching Jeff Renner as well. You know, I was lucky back in 2013, August of 2013. My mom just happened to know somebody who knew Rich Marriott with King 5. You know, he's still an anchor to this day. And I was able to get a full King 5 studio tour with Rich Marriott himself. And it was one of the best days of my teen years ever. You know, Rich was such a nice guy, and he still is. I believe he still is. I'd like to meet him again someday, but yeah, it was a huge learning experience behind the scenes as an anchor. We have calmer winds tonight. Kim Leonard. Yeah, things are really going to die out tonight around the area. It should come down to either a really small breeze or nothing at all for most of us. So yeah, this is the jet right here. This is what the atmospheric river is riding along. It has that jet really lifting north of our area, way north of our area, by Friday morning. So looking like confidence is decreasing in a Friday, Saturday atmospheric river event, which is probably why they're downtrending those river forecasts as well. Trying to go back in time, see if we can see any erratic changes here. Yeah, so yesterday's 12Z and yesterday's 0Z had it a little bit farther south, which would give us some of this action here, just on the tail end of it. But days like Thursday and before, it had the jet stream almost over our area. It was mainly over central Vancouver Island. Even like before that, it had the ridge coming back. So it leaned towards the jet stream being farther south, but now it's going back towards the jet stream being way farther north of the area, which would give our rivers a much needed break and probably prevent a bunch of major flooding like was originally forecasted. That would be a saving grace for a lot of us if we could have this ridge come in right after this relentless atmospheric river pattern. Most people look down, weather junkies look up. Praise that. So yeah, let's go over tonight and tomorrow's winds one more time. See, just a breeze through the area. Breeze picking up at times early in the morning, and then starts to increase as the sun rises tomorrow. Then we could get a little windy over the area. Over the Enumclaw area, may get close to 40 mile per hour winds, but not quite there. At least, of course, at least according to this one model run that we see here. Does have the Tacoma area getting 40s though tomorrow, right around the time the game starts tomorrow morning. And then continuously breezy around the area throughout the day tomorrow, going into the nighttime. Then we'll be watching for the winds to pick up pretty sharply around the area, and this could be concerning with that rain falling over the area at the same time. Could have saturated soils, which could allow trees to fall much easier than dry soils or drier soils like yesterday. You know, where we had a bit of a break in the rain for most of the area, which prevented a lot of trees from being uprooted. But we still saw how it overperformed across much of the area. So, you know, it's kind of a toss-up of what could happen on Monday. But right now, current indications are showing quite a strong wind event around the area on Monday. Not like widespread windstorm level. We're not talking about a massive area windstorm. We're just talking about some localized stronger winds possible here. That could get up to the 50 mile per hour range closer to the water. So, but then you notice that front comes through from northwest to southeast. Flow turns out of the northwest behind it, and we could bring this westerly surge down into Everett, where some areas could get up towards 45 miles per hour over the water. And maybe 35 to 40 over land here in Everett, in areas up towards North Seattle here. But then you see the wind around the area pretty much shuts down right after that front comes through. So it's going to be a sharp cutoff with the wind right after that. So it should be in for a break day on Tuesday as well before that Wednesday system. Keith says there are a lot of free online meteorology classes. Yeah, I believe it. And the truth is, I should probably consider taking a lot of these as well. Just to bolster my knowledge of meteorology. You know, I've got a fair amount of knowledge already as it is, but everyone could always do better. You know, and the more that you know, then the more credible you're going to be. And I want people to believe that this is a credible source of information. You know, Whatcom County always misses out until the Fraser River outflow. That's usually how it is, unfortunately. Sometimes you can get the southerlies up by 5, but that doesn't always happen too often. A lot of factors don't usually go your way up there. But yeah, if the 0Z HER were to verify, it could be some trouble for some areas like Tacoma out here. I see it shows 52 along the strait here. This would be at 10 a.m. compared to noon like the NAM is showing. So still some time fluctuations here. Adam Ferris said, came over to YouTube. Welcome to the YouTube side, Adam. It's a good thing you came over because we're really trying to build some watch hours here on YouTube. trying to enable a lot of monetization features to help out with the finances. Hopefully by the start of the new year, if all goes well. And we made a huge jump yesterday. I think we added around 170 watch hours last time I checked, which is a huge jump, but we still need several hundred till we can get to that 3,000 marker. But, you know, we're making good progress. We're making great progress on that. So yeah, we're really keeping tabs on what could happen relating to wind on Monday. Let's look at total quantitative precipitation around the area, which is just a measure of rain, snow, all forms of precip. So the time of the model run here is between 4 to 5 p.m. today. Shows some scattered showers around the area and then picking up just shy of a 1/4 inch as we go through early tomorrow morning. And then again, most of the mountains and the hills take the bulk of rain with an obvious rain shadow over much of the area up here, and rain shadow over Whatcom County and San Juan County possible as well. And then we go into Monday and watch just how sharply these totals pick up. And by the end of the run here, which is 4 p.m. Monday, keep Tacoma as a reference here. We're going to start at midnight, and Tacoma's at 1/2 inch. And watch what happens as we go through the next 16 hours to 4 p.m. 2.1 inches possible for the Tacoma area. That would be 1.6 inches or greater over just 16 hours. That means if things were to hold, we'd be on track for almost 2.5 inches of rain over a 24-hour period on Monday, just for the Tacoma area. Of course, that's being theoretical. You know, we may have a small break later on in the day that the model's showing. So 2.5 would just be like a continuous trend. Again, theoretical. Sure, you will make a positive impact. Someday, small children will carve your likeness in spam, I predict. Well, thank you again, Scott, for the kind words. But yeah, you know, I do hope to be a good influence on the next generation. Hopefully we can raise a lot of new weather enthusiasts here in the Puget Sound in the coming years. You know, we have a really good weather community around here. Like a really great, really informative and kind weather community. You know, we don't have a lot of drama around here for the most part. Which I am grateful for. But yeah, by 4 p.m. on Monday, it's showing again another round of 50-mile-per-hour gusts possible for Tacoma. See, it even had Everett hitting 54 here at 3 p.m. Oddly enough, it kind of keeps the Silverdale area here in sort of a wind shadow. It's like the wind goes entirely around Silverdale. At least the strong stuff does. Just thought that was kind of odd. But yeah, not going as easy on the South Sound here. And the Central Sound gets it as well. It kind of has the Seattle area in general and kind of this little shadow area here, which is weird because the winds are coming out of the southwest and there's no major mountains here blocking the wind. Not sure what that's about. Just a little funny to me. Standing water will be fun to do the deliveries in. Yeah, watch out for standing water. Please do. You can't risk your life for deliveries. And of course, know your detour routes as well. That's huge. Not only know your escape routes, but know your detour escape routes if need be. Packages will be fun in residential areas. Yeah, that's going to be the most difficult part. It's not a lot of areas to escape residential areas in case you have flooding. Yeah, I'm gonna have to make an update on this tonight for Facebook and Patreon. If you guys aren't on Facebook but want to watch my blogs, perfect segue into Patreon here. I have free blogs as well as a 7-day free trial if you want to become a patron on here, or pledge on Patreon is what they call it now. You would have access to all the blog posts here for only $1.99 a month plus taxes. And I would get to keep around 75 to 80% of the total earnings. If you guys are interested in helping out Puget Sound Stormwatch, if you're not over on Facebook, otherwise, Facebook subscribers, it is half the price at 99 cents per month if you want to help support Puget Sound Stormwatch in the future, especially during the slower weather times where there's not much to talk about, just to keep us afloat for the future. The best overall way you can support is through Ko-Fi. Some may call this coffee. Make sure I'm up to date on here. Thank you all for the recent donations here. You also have the option of donating coffees on a monthly basis as well. So appreciate you guys for 140 coffees donated from 47 different people. So shout out goes to you guys. If you guys would like a link to this, let me know. Otherwise, it's in the stream link on YouTube and on the front page in the intro section on Puget Sound Stormwatch on Facebook. But again, no pressure. So yeah, overall, this is what's kind of left of the atmospheric river system from the last couple of days here. And we're going to be watching this one extending down from the Philippines. And see this trough right here, this is going to move across the Pacific, and this is going to drag that, what some people are now dubbing the Mango Express, into the Pacific Northwest in this one's wake. And this is going to be the real moisture maker across much of the area Monday and the Tuesday. And it'll bounce around Monday and Tuesday, but then aim back over the area on Wednesday too. So again, what we're looking at here. See, not as much moisture coming into Western Washington tomorrow. Looks like Southern Oregon and Northern California take the brunt of it tomorrow. Then here comes this next round here. And as you go into Monday morning, this moisture axis is centered across Western Washington for some time. Then by Monday night, begins to slide south, and you're going to notice this thing wobbles a little bit north and south here. But then by Tuesday night and the Wednesday morning, once again, the axis is centered somewhere between Southwest Washington and Northwest Oregon. So this could give some of our North Cascade rivers a break while bolstering up the water supply for some of the Southern Cascade rivers. And then it's just aimed at us in this recent forecast into Thursday too. So it just has this atmospheric river hanging up over us on Wednesday, going into Thursday, but then it starts to dry out and move to the north. And then you can see the second plume of moisture move up to the north. And this atmospheric river that they were talking about on Friday now looks like it'll miss us to the north, which is good news for area rivers. Heard that term today, never heard Mango Express before today. Yeah, I've seen a few people have been coining this event the Mango Express. Just because it crosses all the way across the Pacific to the Philippines. It's literally just going to be one several thousand mile long plume of moisture from East Asia all the way to the Pacific Northwest. In just one consolidated stream of water vapor. Keith, congratulations. Got a certificate of achievement for Meteorology 101 courses. How about the East Asia River? You may be on to something there, Keith. Oh boy, that's funny. Will wind be strong with each event? Well, I need to check out Wednesday's winds again. But Monday looks quite breezy around the area. Wednesday's not looking as terrible now. At least compared to what it was showing before. So I think Monday is probably going to be the strongest wind for next week. I think once we get through Monday, we just have to get through a few stronger breezes throughout the rest of the week, and then that's really about it. The Europeans not sold on any strong winds for Wednesday anymore. Originally, I think we have to go way back here probably to see. Yeah, like this was the 12Z yesterday. So this was 5 model runs ago prior. It's just showing, see, some pretty strong winds around the area for the 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. time frame Wednesday, but that's since gone way back on that. Like, see, it's a completely polar opposite solution here. So we'll be watching the trends, see if it trends backwards towards that, or if it keeps up with this solution. We're still quite a ways out from high-res imagery as well, so I'll be waiting for the high-res models to come in sometime Monday night or Tuesday morning, which will be well in range of Wednesday's event, if it even happens. But initial indications right now are that we won't have any major issues with winds on Wednesday. Heard that one used by Cliff Mass, or was it Scott Sistek? I think Scott may have coined the Mango Express. Cliff Mass was the one that coined the Godzilla atmospheric river, which claimed that professional meteorologists call this a GAR event, which is just not true. That had to be a joke. Like, there's no way he was being serious about that. Yeah, like Keith said, it can go either way. A wacky forecast with a lot of different solutions at play here. Scott on X/Twitter just said, forecast for Everett tonight in atmospheric river. Because he's talking about the Everett Silvertips, the Hoggy team. So he made a pun there. Atmospheric river. Looks like Matthew Fab's going live at 8, so 8 p.m. should be a perfect time to wrap things up. So if you guys want to go check out his stream at 8 p.m., it is Western Washington Weather here on YouTube. Western Washington Weather. See, we have a flurry of new Blue Sky followers as well. If you guys want to check out my Blue Sky social account here, it's at psswanthony.bluesky.social. Passed 100 followers the other day, and we've only been going up ever since. I don't post as frequently on this, but I have started to trend up on posts. It's mainly model runs and some cross posts over from Facebook. You guys are interested in checking me out on Blue Sky, feel free. So yeah, here comes our plume. Coming this way. It's a couple of days left before it moves in. Knew one of them was on it. It's funny to see. Okay, so it was Cliff that coined it, Mango Express. Is that right? See, what does the GFS show? This is a very poor model to use for wind, but we'll see what the GFS has to say. Yeah, GFS also says no wind Wednesday. We'll see precipitable water on the GFS. See if it has any good agreement with the European. You see, the GFS brings the moisture axis all the way down into Oregon and just really keeps Washington spared from it. We get a little bit of Monday system, but it shows it being much more progressive down towards Oregon. And then Wednesday system almost completely misses Western Washington. See, and then some more fantasy atmospheric river potential all the way out to Friday the 19th. And a big atmospheric river hitting Northern California. Guessing that's when the ridge retrogrades all the way down off the coast of South California. Then that'll open up the door for troughs to come in and potential for some weather systems in the fantasy period too. Because we'll be on the north side of that atmospheric river, which means trough. And that usually means inclement weather. That long stream is riding the jet stream. I was wondering that today. Yeah, it is. It's riding the, I believe they call it the polar jet. I like to call it the upper level jet though, usually. But the jet stream's typically mid to upper level around the area. If you guys would also like to follow my Twitter/X as well, this is my personal account here. I make all my weather posts here as well. You also see a lot of Seahawks tweets as well while the Seahawks are playing. You know, I'll usually live tweet the games. My @handle is Milton WA Tech 99. This is the site here. Yeah, a lot of weather posts on here as well. If you guys want to go check out my personal X/Twitter. Chris Stubblefield, have the amounts earlier predicted been downgraded? For flooding and overall precipitation, slightly, yes. Ruh-roh. There's a new update. See, we just had a dramatic change since the last update. You guys see what I see? They just upgraded both of these to major. And not just any major, but major. This could be a new development, guys. Be watching the Cowlitz River near Randall and near Packwood with potential for major flooding. And this has the Cowlitz River at Packwood peaking at nearly a foot above major flood stage, which would be crucial. This is for 10 p.m. on Monday. So it has it going from not flooding to major flooding in less than 6 hours. So I might have just contradicted myself for some of these areas here. But now, most recent forecast is predicting major flooding for the Cowlitz River near Packwood and Randall. So, if you know anyone in those cities or around those cities, just give them the heads up that they could expect river flooding by Monday night. Green-Eyed Breeze says, wow, that's impressive. Yes, it is. So yeah, I refreshed it, and I think the Cowlitz River near Packwood wasn't even expected to get above action stage, and it just flipped to major like that. The Cowlitz should concern folks. 2007, it was bad. Yeah, absolutely. I'll be watching that very, very closely. I'll have to issue another update on that tonight as well. Scott, he does do a good blog. I enjoy it. Yes, he does. Dynamic on the watches has changed. Wow. Yeah, there is a river as well as an aerial and small stream flood watch. This is a combo flood watch for all of the lowlands of Oregon and Washington. The Western. And then the green here, these are coastal flood advisories. One for tomorrow and one for Monday as well. So some inland coastal flooding possible, but it looks like the threat of coastal flooding has ended for the Strait of Juan de Fuca and the Washington and Oregon coasts, at least for now. So yeah, just a reminder, this is based off of model guidance. And the other site I use, I think it's called the Northwest River Prediction Center. Trying to remember the site. Hang on. Northwest River Forecast Center. That's what it was. It has a very similar infrastructure to this. Yeah, and to think, this is in the forecast now, so this is higher confidence than the trend. Let's see, same thing here. This is Cowlitz at Packwood. And it says here too, 4 to 10 day trend forecast is based on model guidance and uncertainty during this period is greater. But that is in the red. This is in the green, however. This is a different matter. That means there's higher confidence now that this thing is expected to crest quite a ways over major flood stage, which is not good. This site may be easier to read for some people, so I'll link this as well for you guys on Facebook and YouTube. If you guys want to go check this out. It's a slightly different user interface. And it shows pretty much all of the rivers in the coverage area, including the Oregon rivers as well. It shows Idaho rivers also. But you should be able to consolidate this. I could consolidate it at one point. Yeah, I had it consolidated at one point, but I don't remember again. But anyways, shows you charts down here. The days 1 to 3 where the highest confidence is compared to the 4 to 10 forecast trend. So, Cowlitz River at Randall, major. Cowlitz River at Packwood, major. Snoqualmie near Snoqualmie, major. Snoqualmie near Carnation, really major. Would be bad news if this verified. And quite a few reds in here as well. Newaukum near Chehalis, moderate. Nisqually near National, moderate. And again, these are 1 to 3, so much higher confidence in this. I suppose these aren't really based on forecast guidance. I believe this is more human intervention than just working off of a forecast algorithm. So I believe the 4 to 10 is more so computer generated without human intervention, which in short terms means higher confidence. So Puyallup near Ording is even at moderate too. Skagit near Concrete, moderate. Skykomish near Gold Bar, moderate. Snohomish, Monroe, and Snohomish, both moderate. And Tolt near Carnation, also moderate. So these are showing all of the Western Washington rivers now, with some Eastern mixed in as well. And I'm actually seeing Oregon, so I take that back. The first overall chunk here looks like Western Washington with some Eastern Washington mixed in. I think these are actually alphabetical, so just a coincidence how most of these rivers are Western Washington. Is the worst of the flooding still due Tuesday? Looking like the farther south you are of Seattle, in the South Cascades, the worst flooding should actually be by the end of the day Monday or the morning Tuesday. While farther north of Seattle, it could be up towards Thursday for some areas. But times are bouncing around too, so do pay attention. If you want to take a look at the site, I commented it in the comments for Facebook and YouTube. But yeah, it looks like the worst of the flooding is going to be Monday and Tuesday, but mainly Monday afternoon and night. George, it looks like it backs Distilly way down. Yeah, for the last couple of days, it showed the Stillaguamish here at minor flood stage. And we're well within the Monday forecast range here now too. So anything in the green is higher certainty than anything in the red, which red is just a model trend. So we're now, see, parts of Wednesday are still in the trend though. So as the days go on, as we start to get towards Sunday and Monday here, we'll have higher confidence on Wednesday as well for the river forecast. Right now, the Stillaguamish near Arlington is expected to hit minor flood stage. Green-Eyed Breeze says, I'll keep my ears perked up. Very wise. 30 likes on YouTube. Thank you, guys. If you like the stream so far and want to see more streams like this in the future, please consider sharing to your friends and family. Same on Facebook as well. And if you haven't already on YouTube, ring that bell for future live stream notifications like this one. If you want to see more forecasts like this in the future, that is the best way to get them. Yeah, see, it's still showing moderate flooding possible here for the Puyallup River between Ording and Electron. And even just has it right on the cusp here of major too, which could be a really big deal. Be watching this river closely since this is much closer to a higher populated area. So this could be an interesting one. And again, on the day Monday before we go into Tuesday morning here. This is Monday night right here. So heads up, if you know anyone in the Ording area, tell them to keep a close eye on this forecast. But yeah, breaking news here for sure. You notice higher confidence here in the forecast range, in the green. Has a pretty significant major flood crest here. Believe this is Monday night for the Cowlitz River here at Randall. And at Packwood, similar story here. Let me just make sure I have my days right here. No, the 9th is Tuesday. So the 9th is Tuesday. So this would have a max crest around Tuesday afternoon. A Tuesday afternoon for the Cowlitz River near Randall. And then Monday night and Tuesday morning for the Cowlitz River upstream at Packwood. So heads up, folks. Monday night, Tuesday morning looks particularly active for river flooding. What this map doesn't show, though, is it doesn't show the Skokomish River here in flood stage. See, it doesn't even have a station here, which is weird. But the last site does. This is water.noaa.gov, and this shows more information, and it has the interactive maps. So I personally prefer this, but the Northwest River Forecast Center may be easier for some of you guys to read and possibly navigate to. But yeah, as of now, we're expecting 4 different river flood zones to hit major flood stage. The Snoqualmie and Carnation and at the Falls, as well as the Cowlitz River at Packwood and Randall. So heads up for you guys. Moderate flooding also expected here at the Newaukum near Chehalis. And again, remember, the major flood stage is also the record too. Record stage was 205.48 feet, so literally 0.02 of a foot below major flood stage. The crest is somewhere just below 205 feet right now, so probably within about 1.5 feet of the all-time record there for the Newaukum. Going to have to drag out my plastic rain gauge. I was briefly a weather watcher in Eastern Washington. It's a fun instrument, especially the ones that record live. So like my rain gauge is on top, is about 5 feet above the roof line at my mom's house down the street. That's the one I used to stream my observations to Weather Underground. It's interesting to watch it go up, and also watching the graphs too, like the line graphs that it has for daily periods, especially the temperature and dew point trends. Also interesting to see when you can tell when the lower level, what they call the boundary layer, is moist or dry, because you can follow the trends, the differences between the green and red lines, which are dew point temperature and ambient temperature. Closer they are together, the more moist the air mass is. Farther apart, the drier it is. That river always floods at the littlest rain squall. Well, we're going to have a lot more than the rain squall down there coming up. I can assure you of that. It's going to be one big time rain squall. That's right. College football is playing right now, so it's probably a reason why we don't have a lot of people on here. They're watching the championship games. Is it true that Indiana and Ohio State's playing right now? And I didn't see the score for Georgia and Alabama. Let's go look that up real quick. Ooh, Georgia killed Alabama. And quarter 3 is about to end, and Indiana's actually up on Ohio State, 13-10. It's about time. Maybe Indiana will take the #1 spot when it's all done. This is 1880 Tech. Well, it may be old, but it's still gold. Yep, and yes, Georgia won, and they aren't being given a seat. Georgia ran them over. Alabama's offense was just not there. Yeah, only 7 points. That explains everything. Just too bad the Husky season ended last week. You know, Well, the regular season, because we still have the bowl games. And I found out we're playing the LA Bowl versus Boise State, which should be a fun game. So just a heads up, guys. We're going to wrap up the live stream here in about 20 minutes because I'm going to go jump over to Matt's stream when it starts at 8. So if you guys want to follow me there, it's on Western Washington Weather here on YouTube. Western Washington Weather. All right, Keith, does that mean you're taking off for the night? If so, take care, have a great night, and we'll see you around for the next one. -3 rushing yards, a record not set since 1968. That's a stat. Okay, yeah, Keith's taking off. Take care, Keith. We'll see you around for the next stream if you join us. Expecting to have a stream earlier in the day on Monday as the winds are kicking up. So we'll probably live stream during the wind. And it's looking like a daytime event, which is better news than a nocturnal wind event again. Speaking of wind, let's check up on our winds one more time. See, we're pretty much below 20 miles per hour for most of the area, so we're on the backside of this wind event for today. But should be kicking up again tomorrow, just not as strong as what we saw. At least not expected to be as strong as what we saw over the last 24 hours. But looking forward to Monday. Monday could be quite a blustery day around the area. We'll have to watch that closely. With the rain in the area and the saturated soils, it could exacerbate some damages. So just a little heads up for you guys, in case you were wondering. Next real big Stormwatch day is going to be Monday. So in the meantime, does anyone else have any questions they'd like to ask on Facebook or YouTube, where we are simulcasting to both at the moment? Adam Ferris, I will report if I don't forget to check in. Hopefully won't be as busy as I was last week. All good. Don't worry, there's no obligation to send in reports. But feel free if you want to. Just hit 60 likes here on Facebook, but let me refresh. Make sure we have the most current information. No, we're actually at 72, so. Again, Facebook's behind. Link to the last river chart you were using. Yeah, are you talking about the one with the dots, or are you talking about the one with the squares? This one. So, if you go a little farther up in the chat, I have it posted about 20 or so messages up, but I'll post it again for you real quick. Lisa Randolph, is this considered a typical system coming in? I'd say it's above average. It's going to be above average because you usually don't see all of these rivers hit major flood stage during typical events. At best, most of the rivers get the minor flood stage, but we're seeing a lot of river flooding and a flood watch in effect for the entire area, which doesn't usually happen. So they're trying to communicate that this is a higher end event. So I'll just give you the links to both of the sites. there's that for you. Yeah, just keep both of those sites in your bookmarks, just in case. So Lisa Randolph, this is stronger than the typical system coming in. The fact that it's making national headlines just tells you the seriousness of it, and a lot of the verbiage that they're using as well. Yeah, it's all good, Jaw George. It's all good. But yeah, a lot of rivers that you don't usually see flood during typical events are expected to hit flood stage. Like the Puyallup River near Ording here is expected to hit moderate. They just upgraded the Cowlitz at Randall and Packwood to major, which is rare from what I've seen. I know they flood on minor or moderate bases from time to time, but I haven't seen major down here like as long as I've been doing this. Yeah, like Sonia said on YouTube, everyone, like, subscribe, ring that bell for future notifications and to help support the channel. We're looking to grow exponentially as the year goes on. Looking to hit a huge mile marker as we start the new year, and that is channel monetization. Can enable channel memberships and super chats. So yeah, two great resources of data right here. Show very similar data points. But for some reason, this one doesn't show the Grays or the Skokomish, which I find kind of weird. So yeah, see, in the next 1 to 3 days, 4 zones for 2 different rivers are expected to hit major flood stage. Again, update on the atmospheric river. Let's get a current update on this. Looks like they have downgraded the potential for a Category 5 atmospheric river on all data sets here. Back down to Category 4 for the southern Washington coast and northern Oregon coast. Last night, though, people were making posts about it. They were showing Category 5 status, which it was, but a recent downtrend in forecasts. This is what's coming. The so-called Mango Express, as some dub it. This is cool. Wish you all the best in your growth. Thank you, Lisa. If you haven't already, please share the stream to your friends and family, or please share the page. Even better, the page. If you could, to your friends and family, to help us really grow. All right, guys, about 10 more minutes. We're going to start wrapping things up here on the stream. I'm going to go over to Western Washington Weather's live stream. Starts at 8 o'clock p.m. tonight. You guys want to follow along with me? It's Western Washington Weather here on YouTube. Power finally came back on at 5 a.m. this morning. Thank you for the heads up. Yeah, I checked the TPU map this morning and saw that everything looked to be fixed. So, good to hear that. Good news. Scott Buchanan, question of the night. What are your views on stratospheric aerosol injections on our weather? You don't have to answer. I'm going to be honest with you and say that I haven't looked into any sort of weather conspiracies. You know, I've heard more about sudden stratospheric warming than I have stratospheric aerosol injections. It's actually my first time hearing it being described like that. I know most people go and jump as far as chemtrails, which I don't know if that's similar or not, but is there something I really don't pay attention to be honest with you? So even if I wanted to answer, I don't have an answer for you. Roger Dodger, as Scott Buchanan says. All right, so yeah, guys, gonna wrap things up by 8 o'clock here. But in the meantime, if you want to help share the information to your friends, be sure to like, comment, subscribe if you're on YouTube, and ring that bell, and share if you're on Facebook. Share the page to your friends and family. Be making a lot of posts here over the coming days as the weather really starts to ramp up again. Expecting an area-wide rain and wind threat possible on Monday. And another big rainy day on Wednesday. Potentially some record rainfall for some areas. And flooding as well. Major flooding possible in some spots. That is going to be the story coming up. Flood watch goes into effect tomorrow at 4 a.m. and continues through Friday at 4 p.m. That is for all area rivers, as well as the risk of aerial and small stream flooding across most, if not all, of western Washington. And for any Oregon folks watching as well, yes, this includes you too. All right, and heads up too, we need 269 followers here on Facebook to break 33K. Can we do it in the next few days? There's 269 needed. That is the goal. Let's see if we can hit 33K here on Facebook. For reference of how slow things have been, I hit 32K by the November 5th event, I believe. November 5th storm system that came through here. Since then, I've only gained about 700 followers or so. So it's been a month of just really slow weather with extremely minimal growth. So if you guys over on Facebook could help me out, please feel free to. And also, if you like the stream, feel free to donate packs of stars as well here on Facebook. Should be a star button down in the comment box if you want to donate stars to help support Puget Sound Stormwatch for the future. Scott Buchanan says, thank you for the stream. Great job. See you Monday. Sounds good. Roger Dodger. Sonia, thank you everyone for joining us tonight. See you on the next stream. Next stream should be sometime, it should be an early window stream on Monday. That's what I'm looking forward to right now. Because we should see a sharp increase in winds Monday morning. And before the sun rises, it'll be raining across much of the area. Just a heads up for your morning commute. Heavy rain and strong winds possible all around western Washington throughout the day Monday. Be making an update post either tonight or tomorrow morning on the potential wind threat Monday. All right, folks, any last minute questions, comments, or concerns before we begin to wrap things up for the night? Go ahead and let me know as soon as possible. What was the highest wind near Tacoma last night? Before midnight, Tacoma Narrows hit a wind gust of 51 miles per hour from the southwest. There it is, 11 p.m. Southwest winds 25 miles per hour, gust 51. Yeah, nice, for sure. Right around on par with what the high-res models were showing for that area. I believe they showed a max 54 mile per hour gust forecasted for the Tacoma waterfront, but there's no stations out there to measure. It's probably close to that 50 mile per hour range gust, though. Also hit 50 miles per hour near Browns Point as well, up on the hilltop, going up to northeast Tacoma. All right, everyone. I think that's going to do it for the stream tonight. See if I can let the stream hit 3 hours here, which is about another minute and a half, and then we'll begin to wrap things up. I'm going to go head over to Western Washington weather. I included the link for you YouTube folks in the comment box if you want to go head over there. Matthew Fab, the owner of that channel, is going to begin streaming here shortly, talking about additional weather happenings, just like me. So if you want any additional information on weather coming up, feel free to ask Matthew. And yeah, so no stream expected tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be a break day for football. But we'll be resuming through the early window on Monday. So could have a stream early in the morning. We will see. All right, guys. Anthony here with Puget Sound Stormwatch. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. Appreciate all of you guys tuning in, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and so on. And thank you for donations. Shout out my subscriber, William Gatlin, for donating 200 stars earlier. Appreciate people like you. Go ahead and share the page to your friends and family if you guys like this coverage and want to see it in the future. Again, Anthony here with Puget Sound Stormwatch, signing off for the night. You all have a great night and take care.